So right now I'm in the process of preparing a civil wrongful death lawsuit against my dad, because what he did meets the 4 criteria for neglection or a wrongful death lawsuit, which there's precedent for. Okay, he took 2 weeks off of work and did not take his wife to the hospital, as he's telling family members and coworkers the reason he took off 2 weeks, because he said, this is the worst my wife's health has ever been. Okay, and then he's on an ambulance transcript that was typed up by ambulance driver paramedic Jeremy Grimm from Alina Health, stating the reason he didn't take her to the hospital is Kathy was scared of COVID, which is couldn't be further from the truth. My mom had plenty of hospital visits, even when COVID was going on. She was going there for her checkups. She was a nurse, a registered nurse. She worked for the Minnesota Department of Health. So what he said there was a false statement. Okay? And so that proves, that statement that he said to the paramedic, Jeremy Graham, that he did not give her care. Okay? There's 4 different things for a wrongful death suit. Just because she said she doesn't want, let's say she did say that, right? You prevented her at her worst time, her worst health ever. You're telling family members and coworkers, you prevented from taking her to the hospital. Sorry, it's duty of care. So he violated his duty of care, okay, as a caretaker for a sick person. He's watching her body turn purple. I was over there a week before she died with my daughters. She made us breakfast before I took my girls to school, which we did quite often. But for 2 weeks, he kept saying, stay away from the house. Stay away from the house. This is the worst your mom's ever been. And my girls just so happened to ask, can we go to Grandma Kathy's and get breakfast before school? So we did. And this is when my mom was, we got there. She was making, because I texted her before if it was okay. I didn't text my dad. She said, yeah, it's fine. So she made us breakfast. And as she's doing so, she's crying. She looks super, like really bad. Her body, it looked purple. This is a week before she died. And I said, Mom, are you okay? And she didn't say anything right away. And then she slammed down my breakfast plate as she walked over from the kitchen. We're sitting at the table, me and the girls. She goes, I feel like I'm being poisoned. My body is burning. So right there, okay, I didn't, again, at that moment, I did not believe what I didn't register in my head that my dad, who I coached 3 sports with at the time, was kind of like, one of my, like a best friend. Like I talked to him about everything. Okay? He funded my entire life. Whenever I needed money, yep, go see Dad. So I didn't believe it. But when she said that to me, my dad came up from the basement like he saw a fucking ghost. Everything okay, Drew? I'm like, yeah. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on here. And I didn't at the time. Until I finally put it all together. So me and the girls leave. The last thing I got to say to my mom was, are you okay? Because she kept slamming stuff. And we left, me and my girls. So as we go out to the van, Madison, my second oldest daughter, asked me, Dad, can you give me a drink? So I went back inside the house, into the garage, the outside garage refrigerator. I see boxes of rat poison pills. One box is tipped over on the shoe shelf of the east side of the garage, where my dad got out of his Ford Explorer after bringing my mom her coffee every morning. Okay. And then I saw, when I went to go grab the drink out of the fridge, there was another box tipped over, these white brown tablets in a black and yellow box. And that was tipped over on the top of the refrigerator. Only like a tall person could see it. So right there, okay, my dad is actively poisoning my mom. Now let's say you don't believe that. Let's say that's not the case. If you just examine my mother's body and you're saying that this is the worst her health has ever been, well, you have a duty of care to go get her help from health professionals. Okay? So for 2 weeks, he failed that duty. Okay? Which is causation for finding him criminally guilty of murder 1. And why is that? Well, not only is poisoning, if there's poisoning in the blood, if they would have ever tested her blood, and there's a reason why they didn't, that's automatic murder 1. Now, another thing that's automatic murder 1 is just like my dad did. Let's take away the poisoning. It's called lying in wait. He lied in wait for 2 weeks. Now, well, he's poisoning her, but again, take that away. But you can't prove that. He lied in wait for 2 weeks, watching her die. Now, it was, according to the Rosemount Police Department, it was a witnessed death. A witnessed death. So he watched the death happen. That's what that means. That's what a witnessed death means. So right there, like, I shouldn't have to civilly sue him twice. First with negligence, that's the first thing I did, because my mom said she left me all her insurance money because I was the only one who cared about her. Again, I was her favorite son. Timmy and Tommy never talked to her. My sister Amy literally hated each other. So my mom left me all of her Minnesota Department of Health insurance money. I was her sole beneficiary, which my dad and sister illegally forged documents to change. Now, on top of that, they illegally added Kirsten to the title of my house that I lost. I bought the house before we were married. Somehow Kirsten ends up on the title. She's not on property records, but she somehow ended up on the title because, again, they forged my signature as we're going through all this stuff. But back to my mom. So right there, he violated his duty of care. He violated standard protocol for a medical examination and autopsy. Even if it is a witness death, anyone under the age of 65 in Minnesota is supposed to get a medical examiner's report done on them. My mom was 61. They're supposed to get an autopsy and a coroner's report. And it's standard. Well, they'll just take the blood. They'll test the blood. So her body was cremated in under 48 hours, which is like unheard of. There's people's bodies that sit in the morgues for months until their families decide what to do with it. He was offered by a line of paramedics. He was offered for $750 to get an autopsy done. He denied that option. He was offered by them. They were going to take the body from the house, the paramedics, and they were going to take it to the coroner. He denied that. He prevented that from happening. Now he's saying on video, I have him on video in one of my phone calls you can see on my website. He's screaming, Paul Larson was never at my house. Now this is the school resource officer that my dad had helped hire, write a letter of recommendation for the Rosemount Police Department. Like most of them. Like Gage Litzner and Nick Swanson, who's a former student and athlete of my dad's. Okay. So Paul Larson calls Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office because they were going to do one. They were going to go, even though my dad privately transported the body, bypassing Alina's protocol, Okay? He privately transferred it to White Funeral Home in Apple Valley. Okay? So the medical examiner, Dr. Baker, was going to come out there and examine the body. But he had Paul Larson prevent that from happening. Paul Larson, who works next door to my dad, which if you have a coworker coming to do a death investigation, that's a huge conflict of interest. If you have former student athletes doing a death investigation, that's a huge conflict of interest. Okay? So Paul Larson called them, because I called Hennepin County. I went there physically and requested my mom's documents, what they would give me to next of kin. And Lindsay at Hennepin County said that Paul Larson of the Rosemont Police Department called them to say that they will not be doing a medical examiner's report. And they will be going off existing conditions that they had. Okay? Her medical records. That's what they were going to go off of. So on her medical records, it shows up as cardiac arrest or cellulitis. Okay? Because she had a heart problem. So that's what it shows up as. So my dad, he actively tried very hard, and it succeeded in bypassing autopsy, medical exam, coroner's report, and blood analysis, which is protocol under Minnesota medical protocol. So why was he allowed to do that? Why did so many people help him in the Rosemont Police Department actively cover up? If you don't believe it was murder, okay, then they actively covered up a wrongful death because he failed to bring her to the hospital for 2 weeks. No matter what she's saying, you're saying this is the worst health she's ever been. Now he's a sports coach, has a little background in athletic training and medicine. So he's a mandatory reporter from Rosemont High School. He's a mandatory reporter. So if he saw a student at school, their body was looking extremely full on purple and blue, he has a duty as a mandatory reporter to call health professionals like 911. So when did he call 911? On March 17th at 6:21 a.m. Police arrived at 6:24 a.m. Okay? And he called, and the reason he called was because she wasn't breathing and her body was cold. Her body was cold, he said. Now this is documented with Jeremy Graham's paramedic Alina Health report, that the reason he called 911 is because when he touched her arms, they were cold. Now, if you read the Rosemont Police report on my website, written by Gage Litzner, the only officer to write a report, he said the body was extremely purple, blue, and warm to the touch, contradicting my dad's statements. So 6:21 call goes into 911, and now he's allegedly telling them that she was on the bed, and he said that 911 advised him to move the body to the floor. My mom was about 300 plus pounds. I know my dad's a strong guy, but he cannot pick up a 300-pound woman with two hands and move her to the floor. He would have had to drag her and drop her body. Her body would have dropped to the position she was in. Okay? So for 3 minutes, he's allegedly he has his phone in his hand, I guess. It says on the video I have it of him. He has his phone in his hand while he's doing 911 or CPR. Now then police officers arrive, and the doors were locked, they said. So he had to stop doing CPR at 6:24 when they arrived and go get the door. Now, police officers started operating allegedly a bag valve mask before the paramedics got there. And now they're not asking any questions to my dad. the police officers, when they arrived, 3 of them, Paul Larson, Gage Listener, and Nick Swanson, who took pictures of my mom's dead body. And he took pictures of the thermostat in their bathroom. So 3 police officers are there for a death investigation. Don't ask one question. Now, on top of that, Nick Swanson, he's now an Apple Valley police officer. He brought donuts. And I know this because I ate one. Because I asked my dad after he invited me and Amy over at about 7:30, 7:45, 8 o'clock after I dropped my girls off at school. I was the last one he told to come over. So when I got there, I was bawling, crying the whole way there. And I get there, and he tells me to go look at her body. I was like, and again, why are you inviting family members over to come see our mom's dead body? Like, who does that? Who does that? Like psychopaths, serious sociopaths. So I went upstairs, and he's at the top of the stairs, and he looks at me, and he tilts his head back with a fake cry. He didn't cry once during any of this. Remember, his goal is not to get caught for murder the entire time. So I went and looked at my mom's dead body, started crying. I bent down on the floor, over her body, on my knees. Her body was still warm at that point. Her body was still warm. Now, for hours, he didn't take the body to White Funeral Home. Hours. The body sat in that house. Like, how is that allowed to happen? How is a dead body allowed to sit in his house, in the bedroom, where he murdered her, after paramedics and police left? After police, Nick Swanson, brought donuts to a death investigation. How is that allowed to happen? Please tell me. Because when I went and ate one of the donuts, I said, who brought these donuts? I was very shocked. There's Jimmy John's there too. He said, oh, Nick Swanson did. Don't you know him? The hockey player from Rosemount. It's like, what the fuck? So about a year go by. Okay, now, and Kirsten's living with her parents this entire time. Kirsten moved, she separated from me in 2019, right before COVID kicked off. Kirsten abandoned me and the girls. She abandoned our marriage, our house, everything, which legally she should lose any title to. But as soon as I started investigating, I asked one question in about March of 2022. Now, this is after multiple vacations to Florida, okay, where Kirsten comes on one of them. The first question I asked my dad, because I was very curious, I just wanted some closure on my mother's death. Because on these Florida vacations, I was like, why couldn't mom be here? We went to Disney, and I had this feeling before it all, because we planned it while she was alive. I had this feeling that she wasn't going to make it there. Like this gut instinct. And yep, lo and behold, she didn't. So spending a lot of time in the ocean and on the beach and looking at like the sunrises and the sunsets, I had a lot of questions going through my head. So when we got back to Minnesota in March of 2022, I asked him one question. Can I see the medical examiner's report? Huh. And he goes, oh, there isn't one. Huh. That's what he said. Now fast forward to August of 2022. August of 2022 is when I found my mother's ashes behind a box of adult diapers in my childhood room at my childhood house. Okay? Now this is the exact point where Kirsten and my dad started to literally destroy my life. With the help of my sister too. With the help of Rosemount Police, Apple Valley Police, Dakota County Crisis. All for asking questions about my mother's death. So then I asked him again, when I found my mother's ashes behind the box of adult diapers, I said, where is the medical examiner's report? Let me see it. He goes, go get it yourself. Because the second time I asked him, he said there is one. I said, there's no documents about my mother's death. He changed his story. It was like going through hell, having my daughters taken away because of him. Him and Kirsten made up some like crazy thing that I was gonna take my daughters and leave the state. I'm like, what the fuck? So, what the beginning of this video, what I wanted to get at was I had to file a civil case against my dad where he literally incriminates himself for insurance fraud, for wrongful death. Okay, so this case happened in October of 2024 after I got back from Michigan State University, where I filed the case when I was at school. So I'm requesting the transcripts on minnesotacourts.gov, which, I mean, they should easily be given to me because I'm part of the case. I'm a self-represented litigant in the case. Finally, they direct me to the court reporter at the time. I forget her name. She tells me that I have to submit a request for them in the case file. So I did. And that they were going to cost me $1,545 for notes about questions I asked my dad. Where he said, under oath, I got him to take the witness stand, which is probably the dumbest thing he could have ever done. His pride got to him. Because he admitted that police officers not once questioned him. So they didn't do any investigating for a death investigation. Okay. He admitted that I am a beneficiary to the insurance money on my mother's death, which I still have not received a dime. Okay. He admitted insurance fraud. He filed my mother's death as accidental. And I know this is because a woman at Horace Mann, Lolita, I think her name was. I was crying when she told me this because I thought they're finally going to investigate this. Well, they don't investigate insurance fraud too much, as I'm coming to find out. You have to really get things going. She said that she was reporting this. God knows what happened to this woman. She said she has to report this now because they filed my mother's death as accidental when the death certificate says natural. It says died of natural causes on her death certificate. And the reason why my dad got a huge payout from Horace Mann, Fidelity, my mom's Minnesota Department of Health one, and a bunch of other ones, is because they didn't report any pre-existing conditions. They didn't put any of her heart pre-existing conditions on there, which it shows on the death certificate. All the pre-existing conditions she had. They didn't file any other of what Hennepin County had on file. They just filed it as an accidental cardiac arrest. Which, okay, do you think, you know what, I had an accident today. I had a cardiac arrest. Is that an accident? Or is that a natural cause? Just ask yourself that question. So I'm requesting these transcripts from Dakota County courts. Now, I have a separate custody, and I'm very poor. I don't have much money. I don't make much money. It all goes to child support and taxes and garnishments. Like my tax returns are going to it, all to Kirsten. So I filed a fee waiver form. It's called an informal pauperis. So I filed that form on St. Patrick's Day, a little before that, for my custody motions in the divorce dissolution with marriage case with Kirsten. I filed one every year that I have filed stuff. They've always got approved because I am below the poverty line. So they approved this one. It was Judge Bies, B-I-E-S. But when I go to submit the transcripts that would cost me more than any of my divorce or motion custody filings, if I didn't have a fee waiver, it would have cost me $1,545. So I'm like, yeah, I'll just file another informa pauperis. 2 different judges have denied my request for the fee waiver when I actively have approved one going in another case in the same judicial district. Can anybody explain that? Because I had to refile, as the court reporter told me the wrong instructions. He said I could just get the transcripts, request them online, and it'll get approved. So I did that. I haven't received any order granting or denying me being able to obtain the transcripts. All I have received is 2 denials in my fee waivers request. The first denial was I have to give legal basis for why I'm requesting these transcripts. Okay. Even though I'm a party to this case as a self-represented litigant, the judge wanted me to give, I think it was Mahi or Wahi, a legal basis or reasoning why I was requesting the transcripts so that it was not frivolous. Well, so I did. After that judge denied my first one, I sent in my reasoning, which you can go on my website. Okay, it's under a wrongful death lawsuit, a future wrongful death lawsuit. Now keep in mind, there's no statute of limitations on murder or lying in wait or poisoning. Otherwise, they would never be able to investigate cold cases, which this is. It's a very cold case. So then I sent those documents in. And again, I asked them to be public. Which they were. When they got accepted on the Minnesota court's e-file system, they were public. I could click on there and read what I handwrit on these court given forms. They were public. Now, I go on there today because I got a notification. I'm all excited. Oh, I get the transcripts. There's no way they're going to deny these. Because I laid out the statute, the legal reasoning why I'm requesting them, everything to a T. And I said, on the very last line, I said, I will pick up the transcripts in person. Instead, I got 4 different documents denying my fee waiver. From, I think, Judge Marks. And again, when I have a fee waiver approved in my custody hearing case right now, literally in the same court, they really don't want me to have these transcripts. They want me to have to work very hard for them because they prove my dad is guilty. Okay? Now, if you look at the civil case, Judge Lutz was in charge of that, where I got to ask him questions on the witness stand, my dad. And again, we've all agreed at the end of it that this would be public information. And Judge Lutz, during this hearing, he made me go on the Mindy's evidence thing and upload all these ambulance reports, my mom's death certificate, the Rosemount police report, the videos of my dad lying, saying Paul Larson was never at his house. That's another thing I got him caught in a lie with. Judge Lutz denied all of those documents from being put in the case. Why? What are you trying to hide, judges? Okay? So why are these judges, I mean, if it wasn't such a big deal, okay, let's say you're going to deny my fee waiver. Why haven't you given me an answer yet granting or denying my request for the transcripts, what this whole thing has been about? It shouldn't be this hard. And again, any conversation you're a part of under Minnesota statute, I forget the one, any conversation you're a part of, you can legally record and obtain that data. No charges, no fees, no expenses. So any of those conversations I'm part of in that civil hearing, I have a legal right to obtain because I'm a party to the communication. Okay? So I'm just like dumbfounded at Dakota County First Judicial District and their judges right now. Again, most of them appointed by Governor Fraud Walz. If you go look on their website, you can go see every judge that's been appointed after 2019, all by Governor Walz, which is the majority of, I believe, the 36 or 18 judges that are in Dakota County. The majority of them have been appointed by a governor who appointed Vance Belter, the person who killed a Minnesota state representative for cooperating with a fraud investigation that links the state house. So Vance Belter was called to action by Governor Walz, who again appointed these judges that are denying my request for transcripts about a wrongful death, and it should be taken to criminal court as a murder, lying in wait. So the stuff I've gone through the past couple of years, I'm actually very proud of myself. Number one, that I have stayed strong. I have stayed strong with how many people have come at me, how many police officers have literally pointed their guns at me with the intent to kill me. Luckily, I had a 5-year-old child in front of me, or I probably wouldn't be here. Yeah, on October 4th, Apple Valley police officers, 8 of them, and there was more that were like in their cars away from my house, 8 of them surrounded me with their guns drawn to arrest me. The arrest was for taking a video of Kirsten and my dad leaving church together with my daughters, which my dad that day said he would be at Blaine Hockey Arena watching Gunners championship game. And I rollerbladed a lot during this time when I lived at my old house, and I was always outside. So I'm rollerblading by River Valley Church on the east side of Pilot Knob. They're coming out on the west side of Pilot Knob. And I saw my daughter, so I started videotaping it, and they walked out together. Again, they're having an affair. So I screamed, "Hey, Madison, I love you," because she was the last one of my daughters to get in Kirsten's car. Kirsten told the cops that I was screaming violently her name. So I got arrested for that. And that night they tried to arrest me like a week before at my house, but they don't have a warrant to come in my house. But this is the week later, they come back and pointed guns at me. Now, I have never been pulled over so much in my life by police officers. I went and requested all the police reports from Apple Valley, Lakeville, Rosemount, about all the officers that have pulled me over in the past 3 years. Since I started investigating my mother's death, police corruption, fraud, insurance fraud. And it is amazing. I got pulled over twice in 10 minutes by Eagan police officers. 2 different Eagan police officers pulled me over within 10 minutes. All the times I've been pulled over was for expired tabs, except once by Rosemount Police. I think his name was Simonson or something. He pulled me over for a taillight out. I didn't have a taillight out. So I'm just trying to get people, whoever listens to this long of a video, to understand where I'm coming from. How I'm not going to stop until somebody's held accountable, specifically my dad, for my mother's death. And Paul Larson should also be held accountable. Nick Swanson should also be held accountable. Gage Litzner should also be held accountable for all being accomplices to covering up a murder. They're accomplices after the fact to a felony murder one by helping actively cover it up. He had her body cremated in under 48 hours, actively tried to and succeeded in not getting a medical exam, coroner's report, blood analysis, autopsy, nothing. He was allowed to privately transport the body. He submitted false insurance claims. And again, I haven't received a dime of the insurance money, but my other family members have. Timmy, Tommy, and Amy have all received money from my mother's death. My Uncle Mike died and left my dad all of his possessions. All of his money, his property out in Idaho and Farmington. Now, as I'm looking on minnesotacourts.gov, my sister's was given Uncle Mike's property, which is a nice property with a whole bunch of land in Farmington. And again, they wanted me to be home. My own dad wanted me to be homeless. He wanted me to be homeless. Again, allegedly. Now, this is what he told us as children, that he grew up homeless in the California desert, living off peanut butter sandwiches and being raised by nuns in his mom's car. That's what he told us about his childhood. None of that is true. Number one, you wouldn't want your own son, if I am your son, to be homeless, no matter what he's investigating or how he treats you or what questions he's asking. You wouldn't want your own family member to be homeless. If you grew up homeless, that'd be like the last thing you'd want. Now again, from 2014, when I was done playing professional hockey, till all of this shit went down, when he murdered my mother, me and my dad coached 3 sports together. We coached football together at Rosemount, 9th grade football. I was the head varsity girls hockey coach, and he was our assistant weightlifting coach. And we coached track and field together. He was the head shot put and discus coach. Okay? We went out to eat we were very close. And as soon as I started questioning my my own mother, after it all clicked with me in March through August of 2022, she said she felt like she was being poisoned. And I remembered those rat poison pills. That's when I really started investigating. I had to do I had to get all these documents by myself. The Hennepin County documents, they showed the Alina paramedics reports. They tried to give me the wrong documents because they gave me my mom's and some other woman's documents at Hennepin County. I had to get the white funeral home document that proved her body was not examined and it was cremated in under 48 hours. Now, right after her death, after he brought her body to this funeral home, my mom and dad told us as children, again, they had a will that they were going to be buried together, tomb and casket, next to each other, gravestones and everything. So my mom was supposed to have a tomb and casket funeral, a proper Christian funeral. Because my dad's very Christian. He goes to River Valley Church. But yet, he puts her purple poison body in a casket, invites anybody that he could for his little charade. Invites anybody that he could. We all go see her body at the White Funeral Home. The next day, this is March 18th, because on the guy at the funeral director, or the funeral home guy, he literally said we had to hurry up because my dad would only rent the casket, which he got a deal from the guy for 1 hour. We could only have the casket for 1 hour to go see my mom's body. Again, no, he waited almost 3 months to have like a memorial for her. And now in between these 3 months, my dad had to have a operation done because his stomach tore apart. His intestines and his stomach from all the guilt, because he knew he was guilty, tore apart in his body. He had to have emergency, like basically surgery, to repair his torn intestines and body, because that's what guilt does to people. It destroys your body. And this was in between him getting away with murder and having a whatever that memorial was at Lebanon Hills Park. He had a memorial that had more family members come. Nobody from his work came. Again, he's very well known. Not one person from Rosemont High School came. My mom's brothers came, some cousins, but nobody from Rosemont High School came to my mother's memorial to support Tim Conboy, because he's telling people that his coworkers that this is the worst she's ever been, and he took 2 weeks off of work. So people are probably like, why didn't you take her to the fucking hospital? Common sense. Even his coworkers, the teachers he's bosses of, know that. It's very awkward how my mother died and how my dad disappeared for 2 weeks so he could have her all alone, like a predator, a sociopathic predator who, if you have these tendencies like he does with what he did with my mom, those are very big signs that he has done this before. Because why is that? Because he knew exactly what to do to evade any suspicion by authorities. Now, me and my brother Timmy and Tommy, we were athletes, all college athletes. We traveled all over, and my dad would come to our towns